Hey, welcome back to the podcast. This is Rob Balasabas. I hope you're doing really well. It is Sunday, January 22nd, and I am excited to introduce this new episode. It is a conversation that I had with a friend of mine named Clouse. If you are in the content creation world, in the memberships world, you're building revenue streams and things, you might be already familiar with Jay. I'm going to share my screen here for the folks that are watching this on YouTube or on Substack. But yeah, Jay's a fantastic content creator. He runs a membership. He has a podcast. He's got a newsletter. He's got a blog, I believe, as well. He's got lots going on, sponsorships, all sorts of things. And we just talked all about building revenue streams and how he's done it for his business, for his content, sort of his background, and how he looks at the creator economy. And so I really hope that you enjoy this episode. I actually shared it on LinkedIn just earlier today, that I spoke to a creator who makes over $300,000 a year, the majority of which of that revenue is through memberships, and with just 200 members. And it was funny, lots of engagement on it. Some people just straight up said, "Is this Jay Clouse?" And so it was just really funny to see that Jay is so known for this now. And so it's just really fantastic. So just wanted to share that. But before we jump into this episode, I wanted to just share a couple things that are coming up. First, I'm going to be doing some traveling. I'm going to be back to traveling. It is now January, almost the end of January 2023. And so I'm going to be heading to my first trip for work. And so first one is going to be in Vegas later this week. I'm going to be going to Creator Economy Live. If you are there, or if you're going to be going to the conference, or you're based in Vegas, reach out to me. I would love to connect with you in person. Then directly from Vegas, I'm going to be going to Orlando. I'm going to be speaking at PodFest again this year. So thank you to Chris Kermitsos and the entire team over there at PodFest for the invite to speak. I'm going to be talking, of course, about the creator economy, about building revenue streams. And so if you're in Orlando, if you're going to be going to PodFest, hit me up. I'm trying to set up some VIP, some dinners while I'm in town, both in Vegas and Orlando, on behalf of Uscreen. And so I'd love to see you and meet you and, talk shop and maybe even grab a meal with you while I'm there. All right. Now, before we jump in, also, I want to say thank you to our sponsors, our lovely sponsors, StreamYard. You guys all know how much I love StreamYard. And so if you are not using StreamYard yet, then what are you waiting for? Grab the link in the description. Get your 14-day free trial started. You're going to love StreamYard. Just tons of tutorials about how to use StreamYard on my channel. Just go to the playlist that actually is all about StreamYard. And so you will enjoy that as well. And make sure you are subscribed to my newsletter. Newsletter is growing by the week. And so, yeah, just really fun to be growing the newsletter. So make sure you subscribe. You don't join the newsletter. Subscribe to the newsletter. It's on Substack. And so it's also my blog. And so you'll see my new videos and things like that popping up on Substack. All right. All the links to everything is in the description or in the show notes of the podcast. All right. So without further ado, I'm going to be sending it over here to my conversation with Jay Clouse. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Hope you enjoyed the conversation. I hope you learned something. Let me know what you picked up from this conversation with me and Jay, because there's a lot of really golden nuggets about building a revenue stream as a content creator in this episode. We talked about how Jay built his membership, how he basically runs his business as a solopreneur. There's no big team or anything. He does have a couple folks that he outsources his brand deals to and things like that for his podcast and for YouTube. But for the most part, Jay does it all. So it is not impossible to be making 300 grand or more per year as a content creator with a small group of loyal followers, loyal audience members, loyal subscribers. And Jay really showed how he does that, and hopefully it inspires you and it starts getting you thinking about your own business, your own content, being more intentional with the content that you create and the revenue streams that you are building. I really enjoy this conversation. I took a lot of notes myself. You can tell in this episode that I was jotting down notes, and starting to apply it to my own content. So I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I will see you in just a second. Hey Jay, welcome to the podcast. How you doing today?
Excited to be here, Rob. It's great to get to know you a little bit more, hang out, spend another half hour here with you.
Yeah, exactly. I know we connected recently, and so, we got some other discussions behind the scenes with Uscreen and everything, but glad that you could hang out with me on the podcast. I think you're probably not going to be a new name for a lot of the listeners and the viewers on the channel and on the podcast, but why don't you say hello anyway, introduce yourself, kind of what you do, with creators.
Yeah, my name is Jay Clouse. My business is called Creator Science. And really what I'm trying to do is help people be smarter creators. I have a goal of helping hobbyist creators become professional creators is what I would call them. People who are being financially rewarded for the hard work that we're all doing by creating content. So that looks like a free newsletter that I send twice a week called Creator Science. It looks like a podcast called Creative Elements, where I interview other pretty big name creators, people like Ollie Abdal and James Clear, Cody Sanchez, Tori Dunlap. And lately, YouTube. We brought the show to YouTube, and we're starting to create some dedicated YouTube videos now. First non-podcast video for the channel is going to be dropping here in a couple of weeks.
Nice. Yeah, I'm on the YouTube channel now, and of course, make sure you go check out all of these links in the description, you guys, in the show notes. Jay has a ton of, just really good content. I think it's super helpful. And so we're gonna get to know you a little bit today, Jay. And kind of what you do with creators and sort of a little bit of your background, though. I'd love to just hear how you got into this whole content creation economy, industry, space, however you want to call it. How'd you get into this game?
I've started telling just the most honest version of the story, which is in 2017, I was working a job. I was formerly like a startup and product guy, and I was working a job at a venture-backed healthcare company, and I wasn't very happy with it. I had previously co-founded and sold a company, so being an employee was a hard identity shift for me. So in 2017, I started working with a coach who helped me realize that I had this limiting belief where I thought that I was not creative. I thought that I was really good at operations and executing other people's vision, but that I didn't have good ideas myself. So in an effort to not believe that anymore, I started writing a daily newsletter and sending it through MailChimp, because I knew if I promised people I would be sending something every day, that would be the forcing function to get me to do it. And, it's been almost 6 years now. That newsletter still exists. It's become like more specific and more niche as time has gone on. But I just fell in love with the creator business model, because what I realized as a former product person was that content, whether it's podcasts or a newsletter or now videos on YouTube, that is a product. And I didn't have to rely on designers or engineers to make that product a real thing out in the world. It could be exactly what I wanted it to be and what I alone was able to make. And that got me so excited. So I just wanted to learn how to do this and how to make this my full-time thing instead of having a job. And it's been 5 or 6 years of figuring that out. And all along the way, I've just been sharing, what I'm learning and how I'm going about doing this. And it leads us to this very meta business of a creator talking about how to be a creator.
Yeah, exactly, right? Which is a very very good business to be in my opinion. Seeing a lot of creators helping other creators. So then, how long have you been a full-time creator then, Jay? Is that 5-6 years? Am I tracking that right? Yeah.
About 6 years.
About 6 years, nice.
In 2021, I joined the Smart Passive Income team, worked with Pat
Flynn,
to build their community and lead their community team. I was still doing my content business on the side, but I did work with the SPI team for a year, which was an awesome experience, and is actually the same year that my business really started taking off. Things started going really well in 2021 to the point where I couldn't do my creator stuff and lead the team at SPI. So last year, 2022, I went back out on my own starting in January. And last year was a huge year, more than doubled my revenue.
Yeah.
And so, I feel like I'm on the other side of kind of a inflection point, which is really
Right.
exciting.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, Pat is. I imagine Pat's a great mentor and great person to work with.
Yeah.
A few years ago, I actually worked at Thinkific. Thinkific was actually sort of my first dip into into the tech space, into the SaaS space, and Pat was always coming up because he was very much teachable and very close to the teachable guys and Anchor and those guys. And we're like, man, how do we get Pat on board with us over here at Thinkific? And he was just, it was just really hard guy to get to, but we would have loved to work with him. But I did get a chance to work with him at TubeBuddy. So that was my next after Thinkific. Got to work with him over there through TubeBuddy. But yeah, that's amazing. It's a great entry into this space.
He's great. He's exactly the person that he appears to be on his channel and on YouTube. He's exactly that guy, which is awesome. And he's the real OG. He was doing income reports in 2008, and I'm doing income reports now. And it went like, it was popularized, then it kind of went out of style, and now I'm trying to bring it back in a certain way. So it's kind of crazy because nothing that I teach is really that new.
Right.
What's new is like the identity of being a creator and the methods and the platforms that we're creating on. It was online business from 2008 to 2017, 2018, we'll call it. And then this term creator started catching on, and people are discovering this as if it's a new thing. So I'm finding like there's actually just so much great tactical, actionable content out there about how to do this.
Yeah.
It's just under a different term and lens.
Yeah, exactly. The foundational things are kind of remain the same. I like what you said earlier, Jay. You mentioned the creator business model. It's kind of what attracted you to the industry. I saw this post that you had on Instagram. If you guys are watching this, or sorry, listening to this on the podcast, it's on Jay's Instagram feed. But you broke down sort of like your revenue, and what revenue streams you had that you had built. And so kind of expand on this a little bit and just kind of speak on like multiple revenue streams and your take on multiple revenue streams. Do you feel like it's necessary for a creator to have multiple revenue streams? And I guess part B of that is like, is it possible for a creator to have success financially with like one or two? Like, have you seen that work out?
I really love this question because it's obviously aspirational to have multiple revenue streams. And I can tell you from looking at my numbers last year, there were months where I would have like $0 in sponsorship revenue, but my top line revenue stayed the same because some other revenue stream compensated that month. When you have multiple revenue streams, you actually have a very resilient, consistent, predictable cash flow, which is nice. The thing is, though, when you develop multiple revenue streams, you're developing multiple capabilities, sometimes multiple product lines in your business. And that is a big undertaking to build, to launch, to market, and then maintain. People don't think about the maintenance cost of different products and services. So if someone's getting started, I would really recommend on narrowing your focus. Instead of trying to develop 6 revenue streams from day one, develop one at a time, get it going to a consistent, reliable, good level, and then start to say, okay, how can I expand on this and build on it? That's the way that I would approach it today, because I heard someone say one time, you get 6 kicks of the ball a day. I know this is a weird analogy, but they're like, imagine you're playing kickball. You get 6 kicks of the ball a day. Would you rather kick one ball 6 times or 6 balls once? Which is going to get you further?
Right.
And that analogy is just so spot on, because if you focus and put all of your energy in one direction, you're going to get so much further.
Right.
And I think that's where I would start.
I love that. It's good advice. Yeah, it's so many shiny objects out there, right? I think as content creators, you kind of get into this space. I mean, there's sort of like this journey as a content creator, start building an audience, and then all of a sudden these opportunities start popping up. Like, hey, Jay, you should like build an email list. You have one? No, I don't. Like, oh man, I should build one. Like, hey, do you have a YouTube? Like, are you on TikTok? You're just like, I don't know. Like, yeah, I guess I
Yeah.
could. Like, do you have merch? Yeah. Uh,
I will. Can I throw one more caveat on
yeah, yeah, yeah.
this
Please,
idea though?
please. Mm-hmm.
It depends on which revenue stream you're starting with too,
Right.
because a lot of folks listening to this are probably video creators. They're probably on YouTube, and so
Yep.
you're familiar with AdSense, sponsorship, brand deals. Those forms of revenue streams can be really powerful, but they also are in some ways out of your control. Sometimes they have seasonality, sometimes there are macroeconomic effects. So, what you see in crunch times for budgets, we saw this during COVID, we kind of saw this at the end of 2022, when advertising budgets are tapped out or being put on hold or being limited, suddenly your business is no longer as strong. So, if you are using a revenue stream that is not independent and something that you have full control over, then I would prioritize developing an independent revenue stream more quickly.
It's good advice. Yeah. It's yeah, I like what you just said there. I'm just kind of trying to crunch that in, like independent revenue stream, because a lot of people are building and relying on the platform, and I've kind of we've spoken about this a lot in other episodes, but I feel like content creators that are doing great, are doing okay, make money from the platform, AdSense, creator funds, right, on TikTok and Instagram. But when you start making money off of the audience or brands, sponsorships and brand deals, that's when things I think really heat up. Like, and you can fast forward if you can be a smaller creator and have full time revenue if you figure out how to monetize the audience that you're building and also the attention from brands, right? Like, and not just relying on platform revenues. It's just sort of my
You
thought on
know,
that.
to kind of go back to the original talk about this isn't totally new. If you think about entrepreneurs generally, and I think we're going to talk about creators versus entrepreneurs here in a second, Rob, but if you think about entrepreneurs generally, the goal of an entrepreneur is to create a business, a system that operates independent of their time as an input. And most creators aren't in that place. So the more you can think about your business as a machine, where yes, your time, your creativity, your energy can be one of the most powerful inputs. But what can you do to build a machine that doesn't require real time today, Jay is at the keyboard style inputs that result in the outcome, which is revenue for the business? And to me, digital products are one of the greatest ways. And I kind of separate memberships from digital products, but they're very much very close in my mind. But memberships, digital products, you can build a system that doesn't require new content today, where people find you, they enter your world, your ecosystem, and through content you've already created, you position that in front of them at the right time, then you pitch them on those digital products, and people can be purchasing from you without you needing to make a new short form vertical video today.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. It's also looking at your screenshot here, or my screenshot of your post. You also separated memberships from patronage. I'd love for you to expand on that because a lot of people kind of see patronage as memberships as well, just because of the recurring nature of that revenue stream.
Totally. Totally. And this is in a lot of ways just semantics, right? These titles come from how I think about it in my brain, in my accounting software. But here's how I separate memberships versus patronage. In my world, patronage is money that is given to me without an expected return. It's, hey Jay, you've already done something for me. Here is a tip, essentially, to thank you for that work. To me, that is patronage. If somebody is paying you directly with the expectation of some sort of ongoing product or experience or benefit, to me that's a membership. So like a Patreon or Uscreen, I see that as a membership more than patronage. Of course, your members are patrons of you if you want to use the dictionary definition, but that's how I separate things out. Patronage to me is, hey, this is just a tip.
That's it.
essentially.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, very aligned on that. I've always kind of thought of that, but you put it in actual, in better words than I could have. So patronage is a great word. Yeah, I love that. Going back a little bit, Jay. You mentioned entrepreneurs and creators, and yes, I've always kind of wrestled with this question when I come across a creator. I'm always kind of curious if they consider themselves a creator or an entrepreneur, or maybe they were a creator first and now they've kind of transitioned to become an entrepreneur where they're building systems, they're building teams, they're overseeing strategies in a bigger space, they're looking at expansions, things like that. How do you see yourself? Do you see yourself as one or the other or both or neither, really?
Yeah, I think about these things in like circles of a Venn diagram, and depending on who you are, your circles have more or less overlap. To me, like a creator is a subset of an entrepreneur because if you don't embrace your work as a business, if you're a creator and you're not treating your work like a business, then you're going to be treated like an employee by your own business rather than an owner. This is when you aren't doing the work to build a machine that operates without you. So I will say I started more thinking that I was um, self-employed is how I started, even before I realized the word creator. I'm like, I'm self-employed. Then I started to embrace the identity of being a creator. And I'm on all these different platforms. I have a newsletter, I have the podcast, I have the YouTube channel, I'm on social media. So I've never been like, oh, I'm a YouTuber because I'm all of these things. So creator fits well with me. But I will say in this season of life, I'm trying to more and more embrace the entrepreneurial side of my brain again to start thinking about this as a business that goes beyond me, hiring more people, giving more creative control to different members of the team. That's going to another level, but I really want this thing to be more of a machine.
I think this is really kind of why I kind of gravitate to your content, Jay. I think a lot of, we get to chat with Ali Abdal's team and, the guys from, Creator Now, Eric, and those guys, and lots of, amazing creators. And this is sort of the progression of this creator economy game now, right? Like a lot of creators started off as just like, hey, creating content, building an audience and things like that, subscribers, but now they're really gravitating. They're becoming entrepreneurs and building these systems similar to you. Some of them are building products off platform, Mr. Beast with chocolate bars and things. That's kind of the extreme of where this can go for now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely going that direction. So I want to chat with you. I want to be very respectful of your time, Jay, but I want to chat with you about community. It's kind of a buzzword these days, right? Like everybody has a community, and platforms that are pushing community, but I'd love to hear your thoughts. Just when you hear the word community, as it pertains to you, you have a membership, right? You have a membership as well.
I
So I'd
do.
love to hear your words when your thoughts when you hear the word community being thrown out there right now in this economy.
So when I hear community, I think peer to peer network. To me, a community is a space where a lot of the value is created and derived from the other parts of the network. You know, I hear a lot of people talk about their community on Instagram, and that could be true if those people are connecting and interacting with each other in the comments or whatever. But a community is not a broadcast channel, in my opinion. A community is connections between the members. So I do have a membership, and one of the main value propositions of the lab, my membership, is community access, community forum. But there are other benefits to being a member than the community forum. A lot of people will talk about these kind of interchangeably, like a community is a membership and a membership is a community. And I think that's a little inaccurate because there are memberships that don't involve community connection at all.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Netflix, your subscription to Netflix is kind of a membership, right?
Yeah.
But there's no interaction between other Netflix subscribers in that way. So I think of a community as some space where there is interaction between members of that space.
That space. And would you say that that's sort of that's the difference between when people say I have a community in the community tab on my YouTube channel, or my community is on my Instagram. Like, versus a true community that we're talking about where there's, there's channels and there's threads and things like that. Like,
In a way, I mean, people like to feel like they belong. So if you
right,
don't
right.
have some dedicated space where there is like a forum or chat room for your community, then this might be the closest you can approximate, because maybe you have some crazy scale and you can't even imagine having a forum for your
Yeah,
100,000 YouTube followers. So
right.
uh, I'm pretty bullish in trying to use the community tab on YouTube better myself right now,
Mm-hmm.
applying my community knowledge.
Yep.
It's interesting that it's all top down, but people can interact in the comments, and I see when people do like live streams, people are welcoming people that they know from previous live streams and talking in that way. So there is interaction there, which makes that a community. Like there is peer-to-peer interaction. But if there's not peer-to-peer interaction in any way, then you're talking about an audience, but you don't want to use the word audience.
Exactly, exactly. I'm curious with your community, how's it set up? Can you give us a little bit of a sort of behind the scenes? How does that run? Do you have a community
Sure.
manager? You've got a massive community, right? So,
It's all me. We have, I think, 164 members in there
nice.
right now. We
Mm-hmm.
use Circle as a
Mm-hmm.
forum predominantly. We also have a dedicated chat room
Yep.
in Geneva. So I'm actually
Nice.
using two community tools, which is not something that I would recommend for most people. Um, but it's all me, because a huge part of the value proposition of the lab is that I'm very available, very involved, very accessible.
Yep.
And because of that, I've actually capped the number of members that I'll allow in there at
Oh,
200
that's
for
good.
any given time,
Yeah.
because every member that comes in, I have a 30-minute welcome call with.
Okay. That's
We
good.
have events every week. I do these hot seats, which are basically 30-minute coaching calls with me inside the community. So it's very time intensive for me,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't want to scale it to the point where I needed a community manager and was less involved personally,
Right.
because then there's just a certain magic in a small community where people know each other. I know them all very well. I can connect people very actively. There's nothing wrong with communities that are larger that do have like a level of management.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not the experience I was trying to design with this.
That's fair. That's fair. I respect that a lot. Like, yeah, that you cap it at 200 members, so you're not going for like thousands of members here. And you look at again, you kind of connect the dots here, right? You have a very healthy revenue each year. Memberships, which is the lab, makes up almost half of that, and you're running it by yourself, right? So it's a good testament to like you don't have to have this massive team to be at this level.
And I designed it in such a way where that 200 member cap made sense,
Hmm.
because
Yeah.
it's a $14.99 product. Like it costs almost $1,500 to join at a standard level per year. And I knew that at a cap of 200 members, with that as the minimum, and there's a higher tier where there's more one-on-one access to me, I would be able to generate just from that community alone more than $300,000 in revenue per year with full capacity. So if that was true, I wanted that to just stay how it was, hold the space in my life that is currently holding. I didn't want to become like my business is just the community. I want to continue to create content. I wanted to continue to grow my reach, build out my YouTube channel. So I wanted to reserve space in my life, but know that like if everything came crashing down, this goes back to the independent revenue streams. Everyone in my membership pays me directly. They find me through typically my newsletter initially, and that's something that I can control and build a strong business off of, support my family, support my life, even if everything else went away, which of course it won't.
Yeah, yeah. Most likely, things will just add up, right, and just continue to grow. Yeah, no, that's fantastic. Jay, before we wrap up, I've got a couple more questions for you. Before we do, though, can you just share where people can connect with you, where you prefer to have people reach out, or even just find your products and your memberships and things like that?
Yeah, you can find me at Clouse on any social platform. The YouTube channel is actually Creator Science YT. Um, that's where I would love for you guys to check out if you're on YouTube. We have interviews with some incredible creators there that if you enjoy this show, I'm sure you will enjoy that as well. But J Clouse, anywhere that you're looking, creatorscience.com for the newsletter.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, go to the newsletter. All of this stuff will be in the show notes in the description. Also, shout out to ConvertKit. I know you're partnered with them, and I love those guys. So shout out to Armando if you ever listen to this, Armando, over there at ConvertKit, doing an awesome job over there. Cool. Okay. Well, Jay, my final question for you is just really like around your weaknesses. Everybody has a weakness. Everybody has something that they're looking to like, hey, like we need to improve on this. Just curious for you, how do you deal with like your own personal weakness when it comes to your business? Like, I don't know what that may be. Some guys are like, time management or people management or editing. How do you deal with
Yeah.
that? Yeah, how do you deal with that?
Well, there are weaknesses that I aspire to be strengths, and there are weaknesses that I don't aspire to be strengths. And the weaknesses that I don't aspire to be strength, like video editing, I hire for. The weaknesses that I aspire to be strengths, I am pretty disciplined about learning. And I think probably something that actually holds me back in a way is that I am so confident in my ability to learn something that I will often choose not to hire for it, spend time learning it, then spend time maintaining and doing that skill as opposed to delegating it. And I could probably stand to improve by delegating more.
Solid answer. Jay, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for just sharing a little bit about your business and how you built it with our audience today. Make sure you guys go check out all of Jay's content and his membership, The Lab. Jay, thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks again, Rob.